Evening, everyone.
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Hello.
Hi.
Trying to channel my inner Stephen Fry.
Please do that. Okay, I'm officially calling the meeting to order at 8:33 p.m. We need to do a little roll call, so I suppose I will just go by land. Northreach 1 is here, Northreach 2.
Here.
Astro Winds.
Here.
Lupin Moon.
Present.
Frozen Coast.
Yes.
Ravenstone and Icefire Bay are not here. And with that, we will get the meeting underway and move right into the first agenda item, which is budget amendments. We have a proposed budget amendment from both. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up. There is enough people here that quorum is officially met, and that allows us to do business. But as I was saying, we do have two budget amendments, one for Ravenstone and one for Icefire Bay. And so we will jump right into those. Let me get that pulled up. So Ravenstone's budget amendment is really born from the fact that there was a typo and it was accidentally punched in wrong the first time. So I'm reading the post here from the board of directors page. Oh, I guess they're changing it anyway from what it would have been, but regardless, it was punched in at $220 for their indoor site fees, and they actually need a total of $1,927.50. So I've never done this before. I believe the procedure, like, should we vote on each amendment or just read the amendments and then vote to approve or not approve them as a whole?
Vote on each one.
Okay.
Someone has to make a motion for a vote to occur first, though.
Yes, that. You were correct.
So, I mean, typically you would say, like, is there any discussion on this if you want to talk about it? And I assume that there probably isn't any for that. And then someone would motion.
So if we're going by Robert's rules, technically we're not supposed to speak to anything until there's a motion on the floor. So I would like to move that we amend the budget to reflect the new numbers that Ravenstone has just declared necessary. I don't remember that exact number, but Lucian just read it off.
Seconded.
Now, Lucian, you should open the floor for debate.
Okay. Is there any debate or discussion on approving this increased cost of rent size so that Ravenstone can pay their gym?
I think it's important that we note that, that this is an increase in gym time, but that even with that increase in gym time, if they maintain the same numbers that they had last year, so if that history repeats itself, they would still be meeting the necessary income to offset that. So should be pretty much a wash.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I support this amendment.
Okay, so it sounds like everyone's roughly on the same page there. So, I will call for a vote on that. I'm going to do it this way, though. Is there anyone who does not approve this amendment? Hearing none, we will note that amendment as approved to be put on the November all thing.
Yay!
The next one is for Icefire Bay, and it was put on the Icefire Bay officers page, and I think I'm the only one that can actually get to that, with the exception of Icefire Bay's officers. So I'm going to do a quick copy paste and post it on the BOD so that you guys can look at it too, because it's done interestingly. They broke it down a little bit more than I feel is actually necessary, but I don't know that there's anything wrong with the way they're doing it. Anyway, I'm going to copy paste it over real quick so everyone can see it.
Hey, Lucian, I was actually just doing that with all of them, just trying to put them into a budget amendments thread in the BOD section so that people who, want to can look at the actual numbers right now. So I just copy pasted Ravenstones. So if you want to just add another thing, because I was looking for the Icefire Bay and couldn't find it.
Roger that.
I have a typo in amendments, but I'll fix that.
You're doing that on the forums there?
Yeah, so that everybody can see those numbers, what we're discussing.
Yeah, totally. That's cool.
And then, Neal, was there a Frozen Coast budget amendment as well?
Yeah, I was going to propose one from the floor.
Okay, gotcha.
And actually, I think I'm going to do two because something just came up today.
Shelby, which form do you have that posted under? Is it under announcements or?
No, I had it under general BOD discussion.
Oh, got you. Okay. Found it.
It's maybe not a bad idea if we just sort of keep a rolling thread for any budget amendments that we're discussing so that you can kind of go and see the development of the budget over length of time.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I just copy pasted Icefire Bay's amendment into there. As a quick breakdown, they mention expenses of $900 for the gem, $80 for a banner, $35 for a induction price to the Homer Chamber of Commerce, gift certificates for 10/22/16, which has already passed, so I'm guessing they're just looking to approve something they've spent, but that's $60 at any rate. Crafting materials, $100, also up to 10/22/16. Miscellaneous office supplies, $50. Rent for ball, $50, making their total expenses $1,275. And I think it's worth noting that the biggest reason they're having to do an amendment that's so detailed is that there was no representative from Icefire Bay at the budget meeting. So we kind of just did what we thought was best for them and put a budget together with the information that we had that did not necessarily fit exactly what they needed, but I'm thinking that the numbers on the currently approved budget and the total, the bottom line anyway, spent on Icefire Bay in our currently approved budget and in their layout is within $100 or so. I don't think the numbers are very different.
Yeah, their mid-range wound up being considerably cheaper than what we had budgeted for them.
Well, that's always good.
Under budget for the win.
Right?
So I guess one of the things that we should do as we're just talking about budget amendments in general is we should probably be looking at like how these proposed amendments impact our bottom line.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So Ravenstones would have quite an impact. but it was, well, no, I mean, I guess it would only have a little bit of one, because at the bottom line cost, I think the number was right. We had just typoed what they had approved for indoor cost, but now, as we've mentioned, they upped their time indoors, so it will have a bit of an impact. But I shouldn't go with bits and
Well-
buts and numbers.
Yeah, except that the way that we figured all of the income for this interim budget was we said that if it was an expense that we expected to break even, we just assigned the income total to be the expense total. And we said that all site fees were targeted to break even, which isn't always the case. From a Lupa Moon standpoint, we don't break even on site fees. But there are other places like Ravenstone that make a profit off of their site fees. So really, changing this is going to increase the expense from $220 to $1,897, but it's also going to increase the income from $220 to $1,897. So the bottom line, the number changes, but we're not operating at more of a deficit.
Yeah, you're right. I had forgotten about that. Thank you.
And in the future, we should probably, look at more realistic income numbers for an interim budget for a few months. It's probably not that big of a deal, but when we sit down and we work on our year-long budget, we should look at, really targeting what our projected incomes really are.
Yeah, totally. Which will be good because we'll have had a few months of the interim budget to base that on instead of basing it solely on last year. So that'll be a good thing. But at this point, I suppose we need a motion to move to the discussing bit.
Yeah, sorry, I'm breaking all the rules.
I move that we discuss the proposed changes to Icefire Bay's budget.
I second that.
Awesome. We should do it. That's my input because it seems like there's no reason not to, and they're great.
Yeah, because they're operating at a profit. Yay!
Right.
Definitely.
So we had a motion to discuss it, but now I think discussion's over. So we need a motion to actually vote on it.
Actually, I think he said he moves to approve the discussed amounts.
Oh no, I said we move to discuss it.
Well, I wouldn't have seconded that, but I'll second this.
It's too late. It's on the record, fool.
I could make a motion to reconsider.
Okay, so David, you are seconding this one?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Does anyone not approving the proposed changes to the budget for Icefire Bay? Okay, great. We will add both of these to the November all thing, and then Neil, you had one for Froco?
Two actually. One, the first one, I am going to move that we increase the budget line to reflect $150 a week for site fees at the Frozen Coast to cover a third hour. And my hope is that we will be able to get that many people in so that it is just a wash, that the revenue will match the expense. But I shouldn't be talking about that. I'm just making the motion right now.
So what is that number?
So my motion is just to increase it by $50 a week. I don't know what the overall number is because I'd have to go and add it up. I didn't do that. Sorry.
Well, okay, so we can do it super fast here. I mean, how many weeks between now and February, right?
Sure, I can try to figure that out. Hang on a second.
I'm already there. We've got 16 weeks left.
So that would be $800, right? Did I do that right? $80? No, $800.
Right. So we would change. It would go up by $800. We would be amending the number to be 2,400.
Correct.
So, pardon me, how many weeks did we say are left?
16.
Okay, that makes way more sense. Great.
Can I get a second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you. So now I'll speak really quickly to the motion. It's our intention to have a 3-hour park day, and we've actually done that for the last couple of weeks. And we are working with our site. In years past, we've had them charge us a per person rate up to the maximum of the $50 per hour. So I think that we can easily keep this budget neutral. If there is a problem, then I don't want to keep spending a whole lot of money because we haven't always made it to that 30 playing person number. So we might end up reconsidering it, but I'm hoping that we can get people out and that we can continue the deal that we had in the past years with the venue, so that we're not gonna create a problem for the budget.
So, I think it's worth I should have mentioned earlier, since we've got this form thread going, I'm typing up what we're talking about for Frozen Coast so that I can post it to be seen here. What was the second thing that you had on there?
The second amendment that I'd like to make.
Question. Didn't he make the motion to approve this one, so we have to finish this before we are able to move on to the second one?
Oh, I guess so, yeah. I guess I can just post two different things here.
Any questions?
No, I'm assuming that, if we get into the indoor season and attendance is flagging, that, we would potentially revisit that. But the assumption is that attendance is going to continue to boom and it won't be an issue.
And like I said, in years past, we've actually paid a per person site up to the maximum of $50 an hour. So if we do have some weeks that don't get up to our goal of at least 30 people playing a week, that doesn't necessarily negatively impact our budget.
I would like to see some final decision from the location before the November all thing, if we're going to approve it to go to that.
That seems pretty reasonable.
I would like to have that answer tomorrow.
Even better.
Okay, so is there anyone who does not approve increasing Frozen Coast's site fees budget item to be $2,400?
I have a point of clarification. Is there an opportunity for that at this time?
I think that this would be it.
When we're talking about increasing their site fees budget item, are we talking about both the expense and the associated income lines?
Yes, it would still be written in as a wash.
Okay, I just want to be clear that we would be proposing an amendment to 2 line items.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you brought that up. But hearing no dissenting votes, we will mark that one as approved to go on to the November offing.
Thank you. I have one more, and that came to me earlier today, and it is the idea of a $80 item in the budget to approve an indoor fighters practice for Frozen Coast. I didn't realize that would be the cost, and that's the cost for the whole winter, actually. And my proposal would be to include a expense and revenue for revenue line of the budget for the site fee involved with a fighter practice, and that's $80 for for the rest of the time.
I second it.
How does that break down?
I see Aislinn is here. Is Rosedath here? He was the one that mentioned this to me earlier today.
I can actually give you a little bit of input on what that is. So the rec center has racquetball courts that the past 3 days that Goran has been here, we've been renting out for a couple hours. It costs us $10 an hour to do that. Now you can get a 10-hour punch card for $80. And I believe that that's what Rosedath is referring to, is spending the 80 to get that punch card, which would give us 10 hours in the racquetball courts, which I think we talked about it at last night's fighter practice, and that would be enough to get us to February.
Yeah, that.
Cool. And you guys are going to charge an entry fee for it?
Yeah, I would want it to be revenue neutral.
Cool. I'm thoroughly on board for that.
My peeps are excited about it.
More amped guard.
I'm so jealous.
You
Come
should.
down.
No, bring it to me.
I can't bring the Kenai Rec Center to you. That's not physically
Do
possible.
it. All I hear is excuses.
Yeah, not with that attitude. Ugh. Thought you were at Duke now or whatever.
Hey, Minnie, can you bring your gym where you're playing to Hadeland?
Yes.
I want to see.
Yeah. Bring it to me too, because I like that free site fee thing.
Right.
I could, but I'm
Only
not
if we
going
can
to
make it
because
like
that's
4 times
ours.
larger.
Okay. Getting back on topic. I'm sorry. See, we've gotten so off. Did we get a motion and second to actually approve this? I can't remember.
Yes.
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 Well, that was cool. Like. Okay. Is there anyone who does not approve adding this line item to both expense and revenue for Frozen Coast indoor fighter practice of $80? Sweet. We will mark that one as approved to go on the all thing as well. And then, did anyone have any other budget amendments that they wanted to propose? Because for it to go on the November all thing, now is the time.
I do.
Okay, shoot.
You guys are going to love this. So I would like to make the motion to increase Lupa Moon's both expense and income budget items for mid-rain to $450.
I'll second bringing that to discussion. What is it now?
Currently, it's $300. And here's the deal: we decided to go with the Denny's mid-rain, and it's a flat rate, $15 per person, goes directly to Denny's. So there is no expense that isn't automatically covered by an income. So this event will be a wash, just straight across. But at $15, $300 only covers 20 people to show up, and there will be more than 20 people there. And so we will go over budget currently. So I would like that increase to $450. I do realize that this would be approved after the fact, and would be happy to, run this on a personal card or something like that until it gets approved or whatever. So we had talked about some options of sort of how to go about still doing this without having the necessary budget amendment. One of those ways was for each individual person to just pay Denny's. However, the deal that we have with Denny's, and they do require that it's all on one check, so that is not an option. And so I think that the budget amendment is the most appropriate way to track the actual intended amount of expense and income for this event. There's no impact to the bottom line. Again, it's not possible for it to cost us more money than we take in income.
So the only question I have that even resembles a concern is that you mentioned being aware that this would be approved after the fact, and you were happy to put it on a personal card until such time as it gets approved. And I guess I just wanted to clarify that you would be okay if you went that route and, God forbid, for whatever reason, it was not approved.
Yeah, because I won't be paying that out of pocket. People will be paying me. I'll have that money. So there's literally there's zero risk involved to myself personally.
Okay, that was what I wanted to know.
Sweet. Given that it's budget neutral, I move that we bring it to a vote.
Well, she just moved to increase it, so there was no need to.
Yeah, now we just vote.
Okay. Does anyone not approve increasing Lupin Moon's mid-rain expense and income lines to $450?
I would vote yes, but I also feel like I should point out that if Hadelin is using personal, if Hadelin is collecting money and then using personal money to pay it off, technically that's never entering into our budget at all. So I mean, she's kind of volunteering to take care of it. I mean, I'm happy to include it in our budget, but technically this doesn't really even need to happen.
Yeah, I think it's just something that we should have in our budget for historical purposes moving forward, so that when we're looking at the budget in the future, the numbers that are in the budget are actually resemble the expenses and income that occurred.
I concur.
Yeah, records are always nice.
I mean, it's pretty much a formality. There are other ways that we can take care of this, but I think it's important to have that really cut and dry, as cut and dry as possible.
Oh yeah, I said it was a yes vote.
Okay, and I did not hear any no votes. So, we will mark that as approved for the November offing. And I believe that wraps up budget amendments, unless there's one that I don't know about that someone wants to bring forward right now. No. Okay, great. So the next thing on our agenda is concerns from Birch Valley. And is Siggy still here?
Yes.
Sweet. If the board's okay with it, rather than reading a Facebook conversation here, I would like to invite Siggy to actually speak on what's going on there. And given that I hear no dissension, Siggy, if you want to jump up to Council Room 1 and kind of give us a rundown of what's going on in your park.
Hi guys, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
So what's going on is we're just sort of treading water while we wait for Dragonspine. We've gone on longer than what was anticipated. It's been a month when they told me they'd have an answer in 2 weeks. So I don't know what's going on there. I haven't heard anything new since October 2nd. And we can't move inside, so we haven't actually been meeting this month. We can't move inside until we are officially part of Northreach and are able to get all the benefits of that, including the liability insurance, which would allow us to use the Sioux Valley High gym.
Is there no viable place? I mean, obviously this wouldn't be a good permanent solution, but is there no viable place that you guys could play or meet at least indoors that doesn't require insurance?
Unless somebody's family steps up and lets us use their garage, no, there isn't. Talkeetna does not have gyms or rec centers. We only have the high school. And the next best thing would be the senior center, which would still want me to have the insurance, and they don't really allow athletic stuff in there really. Nothing beyond like a martial arts class. So it would be highly unlikely I would be able to get in there.
I gotcha. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but the point of this being on tonight's agenda is that Siggy is curious if there's a way we can get the ball rolling with them with their Northreach onboarding before having heard back from Dragonspine. And I feel like historically we have done something like this. I just don't remember the process that was followed, and I'm hoping that someone here does.
So yes, we had a situation involving a shire that we may all remember, Aurora Grove, where at the time that they submitted their contract to the Burning Lands shortly after Icefire Bay submitted their contract. Icefire Bay's contract was signed in the very last round of contracts that the Burning Lands signed for new chapters. And Aurora Grove got lost in that sort of no man's land between when the Burning Lands stopped signing contracts and before the AIBOD started signing contracts. And so they had approached Dragonspine to say, hey, we don't have a contract back from Burning Lands, and we can't get a contract with Dragonspine to get a contract with Northreach until we have that contract from Burning Lands, but nobody knows what's happening with contracts. And so Dragonspine said that the Dragonspine BOD would approve their contract with the understanding that the Northreach BOD would approve them as part of Northreach, in which case they would just be Northreach, and they really wouldn't have contracts with other entities. As we're all probably familiar, that at the time of Aurora Grove leaving Northreach, it was determined that, in fact, what happens is that a park maintains all of their contracts, and there are no contracts dissolved or anything like that. And so I think moving forward, we should, as long as we are a principality of the Kingdom of Dragonspine, I think, like, without the Dragonspine BOD approval, I don't think that we should sign contracts or include an organization until our kingdom's BOD has allowed us to move forward in that direction.
Yeah, I fully understand that. I didn't want to like say or to set up how I understood Aurora Grove had it. We're like, oh, we're gonna set everything up, and then when you get it back, it's all like it all goes green light. I was like, we need to, like, I want to know what the paperwork is, what I need to do so I can get it all together, sign it at the appropriate time, submit it at the appropriate time once I do hear back from Dragonspine. They have my contract, their board of directors meeting, the time frame they gave me for it has passed. So I don't know why I don't have an answer yet.
So as a sort of another question, I mean, what we're looking at here is, if Dragonspine came forward in the next, whatever, 2 weeks, month, 2 months, whatever, and said, yes, we approve your contract, you are now officially a Shire of Dragonspine. And then we moved to, approaching Birch Valley as being part of Northreach. I mean, I'd be super, super interested to know how Birch Valley would be self-sufficient once they move into the most expensive time of the year. So as we've been talking about all of the budgets, and this interim budget being particularly difficult because this 6 months is our most expense heavy time of the year, where there isn't really any revenue being generated. And so it's a hard time to bring in, another expense, basically, to the principality. And so I mean, personally, I'd be really interested to know what are the plans that Birch Valley has to be able to meet their expenses, and to be able to meaningfully monetarily contribute to sort of doing their part.
The understanding I have with the Sioux Valley High principal is that we're going to be treated a bit like a school club. So our use of their gym, once I met the Matsu school district's qualifications to get in, which means having insurance, I should not be actually paying anything to Sioux Valley High for the use of the gym, beyond maybe a small janitorial fee. So we should be a low-cost park.
That's pretty dope.
Can I just have it, like, as a point of order really quickly? I don't know if we ever actually brought this agenda item, like, before the membership to, like, actually discuss officially.
Yeah, it's been something that we've sort of like talked about, but I think this is the first time where we have, like, officially, as a board, as a body, sort of been, I don't know, approached officially by Birch Valley to say, hey, we want to do this. I know that individually we've had like personal conversations here and there, and several people have. So I think this is sort of the first time we're having that discussion. And I don't know, honestly, what the process should be at this point in time for adding new parks to Northreach, because I think we're all a little bit hesitant now. We want to make sure we do it the right way.
Yeah, well, I specifically meant, like, just in terms of, like, Robert's Rules of Order shenanigans.
Oh, poop, I don't know.
Yeah, I like it. It's not a huge deal, obviously, but I think someone has to motion and then has to be seconded. But yeah, I don't. I mean, especially with them, with it theoretically not costing them any money, I probably shouldn't have been talking until it gets brought forward. I move that we bring up the agenda item of Birch Valley.
I second.
Okay, cool. I think that with them not like anticipating it costing them anything, like I don't know that I really see an issue with us getting the ball rolling on it, but it may, you know, I don't know what I honestly don't know off the top of my head what our current like bylaw and admin manual say about onboarding for new parks. I'd have to like read up on that more thoroughly.
I was just hoping to have a discussion about what you guys could do at this point. Like, I didn't mean for there to be like a vote or anything. So, like, I'm happy we're talking about this. I'm happy we're having an official discussion because I need these things to happen. I'm losing kids, and they're calling it quits for the winter until we get this figured out, and it does not look good on records.
So, just from a historical standpoint, typically how new parks have started up is they've sort of gathered momentum over the summer where it's really cheap and easy to like get people by playing outside and building up their base and getting their super involved members and building their park membership, because it's really typical. I mean, all of us are really familiar with you go inside and your numbers drop, for most parks, because it's just not as fun and it costs money. So, I mean, this is a little bit, and I understand, the way that things have worked out or whatnot, but it's kind of a sort of a 180 of how most parks establish themselves.
Well, Volcano Willow area, it's more appropriate to call it Upper Susitna Zone, is the backwards place. I've got kids who want to do this. These are kids who are going to associate it with the school year. Summertime means driving probably 30, 40 miles through the woods, sometimes even, to get to where we would play, which would continue to be played at the high school on their soccer fields, hopefully. But when it's aligned with the school year, I've got a handful of kids, I think 5, 6 kids that are regularly talking to my sister, who I've met like 4 of them myself, who want to do this. Once we're inside official, they can convince their parents to be driving them to the school, and the school is okay with opening it to the outside community members, non-students. So I know it's odd to say that winter is our opportunity.
I do have a question. I was reading the thing that Hadelin posted in the messages. It does mention 5 sponsoring members. If I recall correctly, when Ravenstone was set up, those 5 sponsoring members have to be 18 or older, correct?
Yeah, I was actually wondering the
exact same thing.
We have founding members. I'm not sure what you mean by sponsoring. There's me and William Crossland are the 2 adults, which, as far as I understand, it's only required to have 2 official top 5s at any point. The others are under 18, but they are committed members that when they turn 18, greatly want to hold positions. And it was a 16-year-old's idea to start this park, so while they are a founding member, I don't think they qualify as sponsoring.
Yeah, I think the concern would be, and I don't know that it necessarily explicitly, I mean, there's a couple things. It doesn't explicitly state that any of these things have to happen in any particular order, per our thing. Like, maybe it implies it, but it doesn't necessarily explicitly state it, so pending Dragonspine approval, I think the board of directors could theoretically approve of you guys joining before that happens, but I don't know that that would necessarily help you at all, because you still wouldn't be able to join it, or join Northreach, until Dragonspine approved anyway. which is a bummer. But the 5 sponsoring members thing, like it does explicitly say members, and members of the organization in Northreach have very explicit definitions for what qualifies them for it. But that's weird because typically members have to be. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Adeline.
Yeah, no, it's just according to our bylaws, regular members have to be at least 14 years of age.
Okay, cool. Well, great.
So 16 meets that requirement.
So the question then becomes, like, we could theoretically, as a board, I think, would be within our rights to approve their admittance into Northreach before Dragonspine signs their contract, but I don't know that it would help them. They still wouldn't be able to join Northreach, and therefore wouldn't be able to be underneath our insurance.
I'm not sure Dragonspire would appreciate that very much either.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not sure that there's really a reason to jumpstart anything, and especially since I mean, this needs to be something that we really carefully consider how we're going about adding new chapters at this point in time, because our most recent experience was not super great, and we want to do it right. We want to make sure that the process that we're following is beneficial for everybody involved, and that it's really the right thing to do for the organization. And this isn't really something that we've even talked about on a grand scale yet, but I think it's appropriate for the board to be discussing it, to be aware of it, for this to be something that's officially on our radar, that's a topic of discussion. But I think it would be premature for us as a board at this point in time to make any type of approvals.
Fair. So my question would be, like, shy of that, is there anything that we can do to help them in any way to get a space? Or, I mean, I don't know if there's something that we can do as an organization to give them a hand.
I don't think there really is with the reality of what's available in the area. And all I really wanted was a discussion because I don't want to be another Aurora Grove. I don't want to have their course in life. I don't want to replace them in Northreach either. We are a totally different situation. We're a youth park with close ties to Ravenstone because they've been helping us out a lot. I think the only official meeting we're gonna have this month is when we go to their mid-range. Bringing a couple of the kids whose parents have given permission for them to come a ride down.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think really like the best thing that we can do as an organization right now is encourage them to participate in the AMP Guard that is available to them. I mean, I know it's not convenient. I know it requires, some work, but that's what it takes to start a new park. And I think it's important for founding members to demonstrate that type of initiative, and that will grow the potential membership base as they attend actual AMP Guard events and get to participate, get to actually hit people, even if it's just once a month. I mean, that will help that park grow so much.
I agree 1,000%. And just so everyone's kind of aware, while we were having this discussion, I was sending some messages off to people that I knew who to get a hold of in Dragonspine, and I've gotten to the point where I got the name of the guy that I need to talk to, and I have a message sent off to him, and I'm waiting on a response from him so that I can get an official date of their next board meeting. I was talking to Sir Randall, and he said that he has heard from Robert Baker that they have a contract to sign, but Randall is unsure when the next meeting is. So I went ahead and I've messaged Robert Baker, and I'm going to chat with him whenever he answers me and see if I can get a date so we know when they will sign the paperwork.
Here's the thought.
Here's the thought.
Robert Baker is the guy I've been talking to. That is correct person. And as far as I know, their October meeting should have happened, and he told me that it would be on there. So I don't know. So I'm really happy you're gonna help me out with this, dude.
Here's a thought: could Northreach extend its travel stipend to Birch Valley members that want to travel to Principality Days?
No.
Really?
Well, I mean, in theory, we could give our money to anybody that we wanted to, right?
I mean, it benefits the
However-
Principality. It makes our numbers go
Right.
up on those days.
I don't think that Birch Valley's car, like, you have to, like, 4 people in a car. I don't know if we'd be able to do that every time anyway. But I appreciate the notion, Minibard.
So, for right now, while we are waiting on responses from Dragonspine, the best thing, like Hadelin said, the best thing we can do right now for Birch Valley is to just encourage them to attend the Amp Guard that is available to them and help out with that if we can. But the best thing we can do as far as this topic for the board meeting is to table it until we've heard back from Dragonspine.
Seconded.
I'm glad we talked about it at all.
I think it's a good topic for us to continue to revisit.
Yes, I agree. I'm just saying for the moment we should table it till the next meeting.
Yep. I mean, it'll be automatically added to our agenda next time under old business. So it'll be there.
Yes.
Point of order. Do we have the ability to, in our rules, bylaws, do we have the ability to make online votes?
We do.
Okay, so in theory, we don't even have to wait until our next meeting. If we hear back from Dragonspine, then we can do an online vote.
In theory, that is correct. And we do, as a board, we have historically done quite a bit of online voting in order to expedite things that come up. I think there's still quite a bit of discussion organization wide regarding how we want to go about adding new parks. So I'm not sure that, next week we should be voting on this. But yes, we can do that.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda then is the 501c3 status update. Hadelin, I know talking kind of sucks for you. Can you give us an update or like text it out and let someone read it?
Lucian, you never called for a vote
He
from
doesn't.
that motion.
He doesn't have to if he's tabling it, and I seconded
Oh.
it, so it's good. But he does have to. Someone has to move to bring this new agenda item before the membership to discuss. I move to do that.
I'll second that.
Sweet.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Are we clarifying how we're bringing? Is it to be on the all thing? Is it how are we bringing, or is it just bring it up? Monarchs bring it up at Park Day. I mean, do we need to specify?
I'm now confused what you're talking about.
Josh. Yeah, Josh moved to bring this up to discussion to the membership. How does it need to go on the all thing?
Oh no! I moved to bring the next agenda item. The membership is us, so I moved to bring the next agenda item being 501c3 update before the board.
I gotcha. I'm getting
Sorry.
confused.
No, it was a poor segue on my part too.
We're dragging. And so we've motioned and seconded, so we're good, right?
Yes, we're there.
See.
Okay. So I had an action item from our previous board meeting to complete the 1023 EZ eligibility questions within a week of that previous board meeting. I am 3 weeks overdue on that, and I apologize. I did post that to the IRS tax exempt status thread that's in the BOD general discussions forum. So I posted a link to the instructions for the 1023EZ form, which includes the eligibility checklist. If you're interested in looking at that, look at page 11. That's where the eligibility checklist begins. And then I recorded the answers to those 26 questions here in this thread. We are a no to each of those. And that means we are eligible to apply for tax exempt status using the online 1023 EZ form through pay.gov website.
You said we are, correct?
We are, that's correct.
Okay. Yay! Sweet. So what would theoretically be our next action item to continue that ball rolling?
So I believe last time we talked about this, there was some desire for discussion about whether or not this was a suitable move for us. I don't know if this is something that we want to talk about here. We have previously we've had an all thing approved by the membership that gave us direction to pursue 501c3 tax exempt classification. So I'm not sure that there's much discussion for us to have on it, but that's a thing. And assuming that we were continuing to follow the directives that the membership had given us from that all thing, then the next step would be to complete the online 1023 EZ form and apply, which would also involve paying for that.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like maybe we're qualified to be 501c3, maybe we're not. The IRS will tell us one way or the other. So let them.
And how much is the fee that we would pay for the application?
I'm looking that up now to be sure that the EZ form, the EZ application, it's the same cost as the long application. What I recall from the long application, it was a $450 or $400 fee, and I'm just re-verifying right now if the EZ form is the same fee structure or if it's different. Yes, there is a $400 user fee due at the time the form is submitted. So it's not a trivial application fee.
Did we budget for that?
I know we have in previous years. I hope we did in this one.
We did.
Did or did not?
We did. It is in our budget.
Go us.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the budget. The membership approved the expenditure of the money. Let's go.
So I'm looking for where these questions were posted. Was that on the forums somewhere?
Yeah, if you go to the general BOD discussion area, there is an IRS tax exempt thread that's been just the place where I've added all information and discussion that we've had about this over the past 2.5 years. And I just added another thread at the bottom, or another post at the bottom that included a link to the instructions for the 1023 EZ form. If you click on that link and you go to page 11, that's where the eligibility checklist begins. I didn't copy paste all 26 questions into the thread. So there's a little bit of cross-referencing to do there, and I am sorry. But if you go through there, my belief is that our answer to each of those questions is no. We're not a church. We're not a university. We're not a private foundation. We're not a hospital. We're not an HMO. We're not formed as the byproduct of a for-profit corporation. We're not an LLC. We're not a sole proprietorship. I mean, like, it's all those things. We don't have more than $200,000 in assets. We have not had more than $50,000 of gross receipts in the past annually in any of the past 3 years.
And is this worksheet the only checklist we have to go through to see as a recommendation the IRS gives as to whether or not we qualify?
Gotcha. So what this is an eligibility checklist for whether or not you qualify to utilize the 1023 easy application process as opposed to the 1023 full process. So this is not a checklist to determine whether or not you are likely to qualify for any type of tax exempt classification. I think that's what your question was.
I just have a concern because as I went through and read up on the 501c3 versus the 501c7, it seemed like we would not be approved for a 501c3, and that maybe we should be pursuing 501c7 rather than 501c3. And I know that the 7 classification doesn't come with that with the ability to accept tax exempt donations, and that's unfortunate. But I'm not sure that we really want to pursue this course of action, knowing that if we apply and are denied, we've lost $400.
We already are at 501c7, right?
We are not. Previously, it was understood the chapter of Astral Winds may have had 501c7 classification, and that may have lapsed. I don't remember, as I was digging through the IRS website, whether or not I got that information corroborated by IRS data. I think I have screenshots posted in that thread with information that I've gathered over the years. I've gotten pretty cozy with the IRS website. So currently, we do not hold any sort of tax exempt classification with the IRS. We are a registered nonprofit within the state of Alaska, but as far as the IRS is concerned, we are not tax exempt, which means that if we make profit, we would need to pay taxes on that.
And I think it's a good idea that we do pursue tax exempt status as a nonprofit. I'm just concerned that we apply for the right status.
Well, the cool thing about my experience has been that if you apply for the wrong classification, if you apply for a 501c3, they will classify you as what they feel you should be. I believe that our goal should be 501c3 and not 501c7. However, should the IRS look at our application and determine that we do not meet the requirements for 501c3 classification, they could choose to classify us as C7 or any other classification that they felt was appropriate. And I had that experience with a previous nonprofit organization that I worked with. Their initial application, they did not receive 501c3. Instead, they received 501c7, and they submitted the application for 501c3.
So either way, we would not be out the $400, is what you're saying.
Unless they determined that for some reason we are not eligible to be tax exempt at all, which our records and practices and documentation and all of our legal status does not support the IRS making that type of decision.
I think that's a fair assessment.
So does that answer, I mean, are all questions answered? Do we all feel like we're kind of on the same page and understand where we're at in this process?
I feel that since we have the directive to apply for 501c3 already approved by the membership and it's been delayed and it hasn't been happening but I definitely think that should be how we continue. Should the result be that we receive some other classification, great, at least we've reached a classification.
I agree. I mean, and realistically, because we do have this directive from the all thing, at this point, the only way to pursue anything other than C3 would be to go back to square one and ask the all thing if we can change our mind, which if the IRS is willing to automatically move us if that's what they feel is appropriate, I don't feel that we need to do.
I concur with that.
I'm comforted with the idea that we wouldn't be out the money, but I still, if you take some time and read what a 501c3 is, I think that's pretty clear. It's educational and charity organizations, and we fall more into a social sporting club. Interestingly, if you read through, if we had international connections, then we could qualify for 501c3, but where we're strictly within the state of Alaska right now, I don't think that applies very well to us. And so I think it would be better to apply directly for a 501c7 because I just feel like we're stretching for something that we're not. Our organization really isn't that.
Can I soapbox? Is that allowed? Because I can totally soapbox on the incredible educational and charitable benefits that AmpGuard provides to our members. I mean, I have witnessed in so many people, I mean, just looking through our leadership structure, how skills that people have learned, through being a part of AmpGuard directly impact their own personal and professional lives. And I mean, there are many aspects of education within the realm of AmpGuard, within what we do here within Northreach, and I think it is not fair to dismiss that.
I feel that we should shoot for the highest rung, and catch whatever the IRS throws at us on the way down. If that's the highest rung, that's fantastic. Well done, we've done it. If that's 501c7, that's great. At least we've got that. We have a directive from the populace, so there's not much question moving forward. They say try it, we'll try it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we have the titles, but the people are the bosses. So.
I'm trying to look at, the IRS website explicitly says that there are 3 types of 501c3 tax exempt organizations, and one of them is listed as a private operating foundation. And it doesn't seem like they really say what that private operating foundation has to do, other than the fact that it has to spend 85% of its.
We don't qualify as a private entity. However, it's also worth noting that there are other AmpGuard organizations that currently have 501c3 status, including the Principality of Winter's Edge, which is they're also putting in their kingdom bid at the same time that we are. We pre-bid along with them, and they have already obtained their 501c3. So the IRS has looked at 501c3 applications for AmpGuard specifically and has approved that designation. They also feel it is appropriate. There are also other organizations in the past who have obtained 501c3 classification. Most of them have lapsed due to not filing the necessary paperwork. With the IRS, if you don't file your 990 for 3 years, your status is automatically revoked. And in a lot of situations, your volunteer base changes. They're not familiar with the filing needs and it falls off. But we are ahead of the curve but not bleeding edge. It is established with the IRS that 501c3 status is appropriate for AmpGuard.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly heartening, you know. And given that $400 would not go to waste either way, and there's already a precedent set for AmpGuard organizations to get it, like if we can get that status, we should try, because that would be a huge boon for us, both like as an organization, and then also a massive feather in our cap going forward for Kingdom, obviously.
Well, and part of what I'm looking back at is when we reached out to the AmpGuard International Board of Directors, the word we got back is that 501c3 status was pretty unlikely, and we needed to be really careful about how honest we were being with the IRS. And he pointed out at the same time that we're not a primarily educational organization. I'm not arguing with you, Hadelin. I think that people really do learn and gain a lot from our organization, but the primary focus is not on education, it's on sports.
I feel like we're now discussing opinions.
I mean, ultimately, that's true. We're at a stage right now where we've been given a directive, as has been said a few times, and beyond that, we are now on the first step down that path. So, Neil, it's not that I don't appreciate what you're saying, or I don't, I'm not trying to shut you down, but at the same time, we're pretty much committed to this path now.
Well, I we are discussing opinions, as board members. I think that when you take a look and feel like you're on the wrong path, you should take a step back and reassess. And if we need to take that back to the populace, I think that's the right thing to do. But I don't know if we're accomplishing a whole lot with this discussion, and I'm comfortable calling for a vote.
And just for clarification, we would be voting on whether or not to submit the application. Because I'm not sure that we actually need to vote on that, because all things already told us to do that. I mean, I'm fine voting on it too.
Yeah, I agree with Hadelin. I think we would need a vote probably if we were gonna make a statement as a board saying, oh, we've changed our mind, like we think we should reassess this and go back to that. But if we're just following on the course that we were already given, I think we just do the thing. I think.
What wasn't that the motion on the floor?
The motion was to discuss this topic.
Yeah. So the only reason for this agenda item was for the board to get an update. There was a motion made to move to this agenda item, but there was never the intention of a vote being involved. We were just getting an update from Hadelin on where we were on this process.
And I think we've had a good discussion.
I certainly agree.
Sweet.
So
I move that we table it so that it can be brought up at the next board of directors meeting as well.
I'd like to have a little clarification on what our expected timeline is for moving this forward, and if it is still expected that, and I guess okay, that I drive this process, because I'd like to move forward with actually getting the application ready. I'd like to have it available for the board's approval to ensure that we are submitting factual information and that we're not stretching the truth or anything like that, and that what we're submitting everybody is comfortable with. And I'd like to set some deadlines for that, just so that we maintain our focus and we keep on track with this.
What do you think is reasonable?
So the 1023 Easy form is pretty minimal. And I think that if I work with Aurora, I can get the financial information that is necessary to fill that out pretty easily. We have also that information is available just in our audits, so it's pretty easy to get a hold of. So I would like to say, so I've got mid-rain coming up this weekend. I would like to say that by November 12th, I have all of the data compiled and available and posted in the board of directors forum so that all membership has access to this information for review, and that we then have some sort of discussion about it and make sure everybody's thumbs up on what we have, and then submit no later than November 20th.
That sounds reasonable and fair to me.
Is that a motion to approve those deadlines?
Well, as the president of the board, I can't make motions.
I was talking to Adeline.
Oh, and I don't know that those have to be necessarily voted on. Maybe that's just information that's my timeline, but also I'm fine with us voting on that.
I second
If
that.
you good.
Let's
Hold
just
her
do it.
accountable, right?
I really, yeah. Yeah, I second that we bring that to a vote to approve those deadlines.
Okay, so we're voting. Does anyone not approve those deadlines?
I'm going to speak in opposition just because I feel like we are going down the wrong path and that we should back up. But you've heard that already.
So, with one opposing, the vote does pass to approve those deadlines, and we will mark those down.
Cool. I really hope we don't have any more business because I really have to go.
We do not.
I make the motion that we adjourn.
Seconded.
Did I jump the gun?
What's that?
Did I jump the gun?
By like 2 seconds. I was going to ask if anyone wanted to make that motion, so it's not a big deal. Is anyone not ready to adjourn? All right, meeting adjourned at 9:50 p.m.